Kaleidoscope is one of Netflix's most recent releases on the platform, and it's different for one specific reason. As viewers of the show, we can watch the episodes in whatever order we want to, and by doing so, it will impact the way that we consume the show. However, the outcome will be the same. It mostly alters the journey in which we experience it. With there being multiple different options to choose from when it comes to watching the show, I thought I'd break down and explain the best options that there are when it comes to watching Kaleidoscope. So let's get into it. Here is the best episode orders to watch Kaleidoscope. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. The show has made itself possible to be watched in any order due to the fact that it's been created with clear moments of time, and the fact that there is not at any point a moment in time we would consider the present day. It all centered around one thing, the heist, and it's the main event in the series where we see all references of time incorporate the heist into it. We saw as far forward as 6 months after it occurred, and as early as 24 years before it even took place. This allowed the show to be able to pivot and have the flexibility that it was promoting. With many people having different default episode options on the platform, it meant that from the off, there were going to be multiple different viewing experiences from people all over the world anyway. I'll start off with what I would say would be the best viewing experience and the one that would make the most sense when watching. This would be in chronological order. This means you'd start the series with violet, then move on to green, yellow, orange, blue, white, red, and then finish with pink. As a viewer, this would mean that we'd start 24 years before the heist and see Leo's previous life as Ray, where he was working alongside Roger as a criminal, who was known as Graham. We'd see why he got arrested and ended up in prison before it occurred in green. We'd see his wife Lily be killed in the fire that occurred during the robbery, and we'd also see how he had these relationships with many of the people that he recruited for the heist. Most importantly, we'd know why he wanted to commit an act of revenge on Roger, and understand why it was the main motivation for the heist over retrieving the $7 billion. We'd know that he'd want to paint Roger at the crime scene that occurred when Lily was killed and when Leo had his life ruined. With the structure that I had, I didn't find out many of the revelations about Leo's past until the episode Violet, which for me was towards the end of my episode structure. Whilst this chronological order removes a lot of the guessing and mystery around why Leo was after Roger, why his relationship with his daughter wasn't the best, and why he ended up in prison, if this was any other TV show, this would have been how it would have been structured and given to us. So by following a linear passage of time, like most shows, this would have been the most natural and easiest order to consume. We'd have the build up to the heist, but instead of wondering who took the bonds after seeing it all go wrong, we'd instead be viewing it in a different way, and we'd understand that Leo was lying to the crew, just like they suspected when he was stating that he didn't know what happened. It may even change our perception of Leo. We'd also see the slow deterioration of Leo over the course of the 24 years, with the series finishing off with him being killed by Roger's son, showing us that the cycle of revenge is something that constantly goes round and round, and never realistically stops. I think I'd like to watch the show again in that specific order, as it would make a much more understandable watch. A different order that I feel optimizes the show to lean heavily on mystery, confusion, suspense, and ultimately means that there's not a single payoff until the penultimate episode and the final episode, follows the structure of yellow, green, blue, orange, violet, red, pink, and white. This episode structure leaves all of the revelations until the closing moments of the episode. This means that despite starting out at the point where we saw that Leo decided that he wanted to commit the heist and round up the other crew members in order for it to be possible, you end up going back and forth in time, seeing different revelations, developments, and mysteries all occurring. The good thing about this one though is the fact that from the first episode you're introduced to every character that there is in the show. So from that moment on, it's either a flashback or a flash forward, and you're constantly learning about how they ended up being involved in the heist and their past relationships with other characters. Whereas if you follow it in chronological order, there would be some characters that you wouldn't meet until halfway through the series. This one constantly leaves you wondering things like, what was found in the safe by the FBI? Why is Leo's relationship so bad with his daughter? Why does Leo want to ruin Roger's life? How does Leo know Stan? And it also doesn't tell you that Hannah swapped the bonds for the papers until the final episode, so you're constantly wondering who was the person that betrayed the group out of them all, which was something that I thought was quite pivotal to the show. This would definitely be my second choice of how to watch the show, and I'm quite glad that this was the order that the show was structured when I was on Netflix. A different pattern of watching the episodes that could be quite confusing, but I imagine would be an interesting way of watching them, would be watching it in reverse chronological order. So it would be pink, red, white, blue, orange, yellow, green, then violet. This way we'd start by seeing the aftermath of the heist, resulting in the chaotic, death and devastating filled episode which was pink, and then we'd see it working backwards, knowing full well what was going to happen to the characters, and wanting them to not do it because we'd know what it would result in, with most of them being killed. But then, in the final episode of this structure, we'd understand why Leo wanted to seek revenge on Roger due to him not saving his wife when she died in the fire. And we'd also work back on the revelations, seeing Leo putting the diamond inside of the safe and it being found, but it not being paid off until the end of the series when we'd see that the diamond necklace was from the crime scene that we saw Leo get arrested for, where Roger was involved. It would be an interesting take for sure, but I think it would have its charm. One final structure that could work well with this show but would leave some gaps would be by just watching the episode wide. If you're a fan of watching heists and action movies, then this would be the one that would allow you to just dip in, watch the heist go pear-shaped, and then leave. There would be no need for backstories, you'd just see the heist taking place, it going wrong, the main guy Leo being saved by his daughter, and then him placing the diamond inside of Roger's safe. You wouldn't even know if Leo survived, but it would be an added extra mystery if he got out, as the last thing you'd see as a viewer would be Leo floating in the vault as the water was filling up before it cut to the colour white. Whilst it wouldn't be my preferred viewing experience, it's one that I imagine you could most likely do as a viewer and still get some enjoyment. Overall, I think that no matter what order that the show gets watched in, I think it would tend to make sense. I would personally say that it's most probably better to finish with the episode white or pink, just because it's later on in the timeline and you'd get to see how these characters were supposed to finish off. My personal preference would be chronological, as it feels like that's how most shows are traditionally done. But as Kaleidoscope has proven to us, watch it how you will, and it will still be a good show. I just wonder if this is the start of more shows looking to do something like this. So, there you have it, the best episode orders to watch Kaleidoscope. If you want to see more videos such as endings explained, theories and predictions, and character breakdowns, then click on the I button, or alternatively you can head over to my channel where you'll find them all. If you'd like to give me a show or movie that you'd like me to review, then head over to my Twitter, @brainpilot_, and tweet me what show or movie you'd like me to review next. And finally, if you'd like to see what I rate the latest movies that don't quite make the cut to getting a dedicated video, then head over to my Letterboxd profile. It's where I rate the latest releases in real time. What was your order to watch them in? Leave a comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.